So let's talk some hotspots. And one of the inflection points you mentioned, where this idea is kind of now penetrating the consciousness, is the war in Ukraine. Before the invasion began, I think a lot of people were expecting that cyber warfare was going to feature very prominently. You were going to see attacks by Russia on Ukrainian critical infrastructure, knocking out the communications, the electrical system, right? And to some degree, it feels, I think, to some of us observing, that was kind of the dog that didn't bark, because we haven't seen a lot of those attacks. Is that the right way to think of it?
No. I think that's a bad narrative, a false narrative, fake news, maybe, to use that term. But I think part of it, the expectations were never realistic, that cyber would be the deciding factor in a physical war. That was never going to be true, and I think I think we're a victim of our own hype in that sense. So many people, I hate these terms, talk about a cyber 9/11, a cyber Pearl Harbor. We don't have to wait for that to happen, and that's not the only thing that can happen. And what we did see in Ukraine, if you recall, is cyber being used very effectively early on by Russia to knock out the ViaSat system, the communication system, which you totally expect before ground troops come in. And we also saw them using cyber, and they still do continually throughout the conflict. I mean, our little video in the beginning talked about that as well, to try to go after critical infrastructure and try to disrupt communications. So it's playing the role I think we should expect it to play. And I think the wrong lesson to draw is that cyber didn't bark, and therefore it's not that important an issue, because it's playing a critical integrated role as you'd expect in any conflict. The other thing is, look, if you have a infrastructure, let's say you have a power plant you want to blow up, why expend a valuable cyber tool to do that when you can simply launch a missile? When you're on the ground, you're actually in a shooting war. Now, if you're not in a shooting war, you'll do what Russia did for years before that. Try to test things, go after power grids, go after other things to disrupt Ukrainian services. Use disinformation, which is a whole another area. And we're not going to see that go away. So I think thinking this is not a big issue because of the Ukraine war, I take the exact opposite view, that it is a big issue. It's being used exactly in the way we think. And in fact, I think the Ukraine war, and you talk to the Ukrainians, and they'll tell you this all the time, it's been a major part of this. And the help that the Ukrainians have gotten from the US, from companies, from other countries around the world on this issue, and the fact that they've essentially been in a real-life tabletop exercise since the first invasion of Ukraine, has made them be able to deal with this far better than I think people thought they would.